Hey guys, thank you for visiting my channel and welcome to my first video of my HTML series. I'm hoping to ease you into the world of web development by starting off with one of the most basic things that you should learn, that is HTML. Um, I'll get into a little bit of the history of HTML here in a bit, but for now, let's go ahead and kind of jump right in and getting you what's called an IDE, or an integrated development environment. First, let me say that you could very well just go in to Notepad, and in Notepad you can start writing your HTML. So don't worry, you don't have to follow me. I'm just gonna knock this out real quick and show you. Oh, of course, this is, Notepad is definitely not a good choice. I mean, this is for some very rudimentary stuff if you wanted to do, because it doesn't have anything for you. You have to do it all yourself. So my page, I'm just going to title that. And we're just going to say hello. All right, and we'll go ahead and save this. Don't worry about my extracurricular activities here. And all you have to do is save it as index.html. Make sure you switch this to all files. And here is your hello that you put in there. It looks very boring because essentially there's really nothing going on your page. Alright, so again, don't recommend using Notepad. Instead, I like to use an IDE called Visual Studio Code. And I've bounced between different IDEs over the years. You can use one called Brackets, you can use Notepad++, you can use Sublime. Um, there's a lot of IDEs out there. I particularly like Visual Studio Code because of its integration with a lot of different extensions that make your life easy. One of those being, it's called Zen Code, and I almost didn't want to tell you about that because it could hinder your ability to learn HTML. Don't look into it right now. Trust me. Learn HTML, and then I'll introduce that to you later. Okay, so again, I already have Visual Studio Code, but if you go here and type in Visual Studio Code, it will no doubt prompt you, or present you, it will no doubt present you a link where you can go download Visual Studio Code. Get the version that you're interested in. If you're on a Mac, get the Mac, obviously. If you're on Windows, boom, there it is. So again, welcome to my HTML course. I guess you can call this HTML5 because that's what I'm going to bring you into over the course of this tutorial series. A little bit about myself. I'm a web developer. Imagine that. I've been a web developer for over 10 years. I'm probably pushing nine years now, I want to believe. um, I started off after the military. I went and I got recruited into the University of Phoenix. Wasn't a bad decision, I guess. It was school. I did learn some programming fundamentals. Prior to that, I kind of self-taught myself a lot of stuff, C++ and PHP, MySQL, HTML, CSS, those kind of things. When I got into University of Phoenix, they took me through a bunch of other stuff like uniform modeling language, which is something more program specific. Through C++ again, Java, XML, HTML, CSS, you name it. Took me through all that stuff. I didn't really find it too beneficial. They did not take me through JavaScript. I ended up pursuing that later once I realized that JavaScript is kind of the backbone of web development. So anyways, after University of Phoenix, I went to a community college, learned advanced web development. I was able to skip a lot of classes, of course, because I'd already learned them at University of Phoenix. I learned JavaScript, XML, XSLT, a bunch of different stuff. um, and the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because I started my coursework at University of Phoenix. I did not finish, and then I bounced over to my community college, and I almost finished the degree program. Just before my last class of the degree, I got a job, and I got a job as a contractor working for Microsoft, actually on Xbox Billing Portal. And that kind of sidetracked me from my studies. And plus, my last class was a portfolio class where I had to just build a website and showcase what I had learned all through school. But why, when I went from making $11 an hour to $27 an hour practically overnight? Um, I didn't have to present any sort of degree. I went there and I showcased my skills. They were interested, so I got hired. So I got loaded down with work, and I didn't focus on my degree anymore. I dropped out of school, and it wasn't until actually last December here that I completed that degree and got my degree. And I've been working in the field since 2013. So, about 7 years now, I've been working as a web developer on many projects, and I just now got my degree. So don't sit there and tell yourself that you need a degree, because you don't. Just learn the stuff, impress the employers, and boom, they'll give you a job. All right, so let's get started here. Sorry to banter on. I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and give you guys some motivation. All right, so HTML dates all the way back to 1980. It was created by someone by the name of Tim Berners-Lee. While HTML existed, it wasn't until 1995 that HTML 2.0 was standardized by a standards organization called the IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force. When a new version of HTML is drafted, it is in what's called the proposed standard or draft state. When a version becomes standardized, it becomes the recommendation for all major web browsers to conform to. In 1996, another standards organization called the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C, was formed. And standardization of all further HTML versions was handed over to them. HTML 3.2 was the first version published by the W3C. Fast forward until now, we have HTML5 that was also published by the W3C. I believe they have version 5.3 in draft right now, but it has been in draft since 2008, so who knows when that's going to be finalized. And by the time it does get standardized, they might be all the way up to HTML6. You never know. Ah, there we go. My little animation for HTML5. I skipped that. All right, some things to remember, some important terms that you should understand. One, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. The DOM, as you'll hear it referred to in the web world, is the Document Object Model. You don't have to worry about that when learning HTML, except to know what it means, I guess. And that is that when you create an HTML document, it forms what is the Document Object Model. Okay, that's useful in JavaScript, which I do plan on taking you guys through later on, but baby steps, baby steps. Okay, XML, Extensible Markup Language. It's now being sort of replaced in a way by JSON, which is another one that I didn't put on here, but I'm going to tell you about. It's JSON. It's JavaScript Object Notation. Mark that down. Again, we won't use that in HTML, but it is a new way of sending data over the web. CSS, Cascading Style Sheets. This is fun. It's actually when you take your HTML from looking like garbage to building out a structure of a web page. CSS tells your divs to align certain ways, your images to align, your text to be a certain size, even animations. If you want to see an animation on your page, we can do it in CSS. It's great. There's a lot of stuff you'll learn later on. Once you learn JavaScript, yes, you can accomplish a lot with JavaScript, but some things you can do in purely HTML and CSS, and maybe we'll dive into that later. Okay, throughout the course, I'm going to use tags or elements synonymously. Say that 3 times fast. That's your assignment. All right. Tags or elements are markups such as divs, spans, articles, sections, etc. There's a lot of others. There's article, section, H1, H2, H3, lots of elements or tags. All right, so a div. A div is a container. This is the most basic way to say it. It's like a container. It is a block level element, and we'll get into that in a minute here. It divides a page up into different sections, essentially. There are many HTML elements that divide your page up, but a div is probably the most basic. Here is a div. Inside of this div, you might have other divs or other elements. And inside of an individual div, you might have more divs. Okay. So let's get into block level elements here. A div is a block level element, and there are several other tags that are also block level elements. Now, a block level element presents itself on the page basically like this, down the page in a row type fashion. Okay, you don't get this, you don't get borders, you don't get colors, you don't get height. You have to apply those through CSS. But this, if you were to pretend like this was just text, okay, in a div, it's not going to show you anything but the text. You saw that on that index page that I created. But it is going to stack them. If you add more divs with text in them, it's going to say like hello or world and all that other stuff. All right, so some block level elements. First, you already know about div, the division tags. P, paragraph tags. And then your H1 through H6 heading tags. These are all block level elements as well. They're going to present themselves on the page in a top to bottom fashion in rows. All right, unordered lists, they are also block level elements. And ordered lists, they are block level elements. Okay. And then comes inline elements. Inline elements present themselves on the page like this. Maybe one here. You put another one, there's another one there, there, and there. So you get it inline elements. It's inline in the column fashion across your page. Simple enough, right? All right, some inline elements examples. A span. Anything you put inside of a span tag is going to align itself across your page. I'm sorry, so if you put a span tag, you put something in it, you put another span tag, you put something in that, they're going to align themselves side by side on your page. Okay. Bold tags, not widely used. Italic tags, nobody seems to know what they want to use it for. You can use it for italicizing text, or you can use it for icons, or just as a placeholder, apparently. I just learned that recently. Strong tags, kind of like bold tags, does the same thing, makes your text strong. All right. Okay, so as you can see, we're back in our HTML file that we created earlier. First, let's when a web page opens up, let's say your directory on a server looking for HTML, it's going to look for your index.html file. Okay, index is the file that it defaults to. It's going to look for that. So if you want to create like a basic web page and put it on the server, put it in your index.html file. That's where everything begins. All right, so we're going to start out with doc type. Now, back in previous versions of HTML, before HTML5, you were looking at typing out a doc type declaration like this. Okay, tell it doc type, HTML public, all this other stuff. Where you're getting the DTD from, which don't even worry about that. That's so complex, but it basically uh, tells the browser where to get the document type definition. Okay, on how HTML should be structured. In HTML5, that has been withdrawn, and you're just now left with this. And it doesn't matter if it's in uppercase or lowercase. I always do it lowercase. This is it. That's all you need right there. Doc type HTML. Much simpler. Okay. Your doc type is always followed by the HTML element. Inside the HTML element, you'll have your head element. And after the head element, you'll have the body element. Now, if you notice in Visual Studio, it's automatically adding my end tags for everything. Okay. If you use another integrated development environment or IDE, they might not do that for you. So you always got to make sure that you're getting your end tags in there. Because if you don't, you'll end up with a whole mess and you won't know what's going on. And trust me, looking over your own code is probably the most difficult thing that you can do. Aside from looking over a new developer's code. All right, so inside of the head, one of the most important things is the title attribute. Title element. The title element. If you don't put that in there and you put your HTML into a W3C validator, which I'm going to show you in a bit, it will say you need a title. So we're just going to call this my HTML page. Okay, just simple. You can call it whatever you want. So we have HTML, we have the head element, and we have the body element. Oh, come on, the body element. Yeah. In your head tags, you'll have your metadata, things like that. Everything, your scripts, CSS, metadata, your title, all goes in your head. Okay. Your body. Now, by the way, the head element is not displayed on your page per se. This is not the heading of your page. This is just a head element with information that the browser needs. Okay, so within the body, let's do a div tag. So if we do a div, it automatically adds my end tag, but you always want to make sure the end tag has this / there. That's to end off the tag. All right. So if we go back into earlier when I was mentioning block level elements, let me demonstrate that. So if I type hello, it's late, guys. Please bear with me. And we'll type world in here. Okay, these are two different div tags, right? We'll save this and open up the index page. You can see that hello world is aligned just like I told you, in a row type fashion, because the div is a block level element. So if you put multiple divs on a page, they're going to align down the page like this. So we'll say div, and maybe we'll do another div. You are special. All right, so let's do that. If we refresh the page, boom, there it is. Block level elements straight down the page. All right. Now let's change all of these. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and comment this out. And in Visual Studio Code, if you want to do that, to comment out something. First, let me show you what commenting is. So, like, if I wanted to say this is the main section of my page. Main section. Okay. You notice how it automatically added the end tags for me again. You start off a comment by typing the bracket, exclamation point, followed by 2 dashes. Okay, and then you end it off with the 2 dashes and the closing bracket. All right, so this is a comment. This doesn't show up on your page. It's merely for another developer or yourself to understand what's going on your page. You'll use comments. I recommend you use comments in your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript, any code that you do. It's very helpful for documentation purposes. Alright, so I have my comment there, right? I've already created these. I'm just going to comment this out. So one thing I could do is I could just say, I can come up here and I can do this, right? In any other development environment, you can do this. And obviously it's going to comment out the rest of the page unless you put the end tag, okay? A quick way to do this in Visual Studio Code is to highlight whatever you want to comment. Sorry, highlight whatever you want to comment, hit Control, and do KC, boom. And then to uncomment, you hit Control, hold it down, and hit KU, right? KC. So we're going to comment that out. And actually, let's go ahead and copy that real quick. Never mind. Let's comment it out. Go back down here. We'll do span. And I'm going to throw in a few spans. Another span. And we'll just say something like hello. By the way, hello world. It's your introduction into the programming world. If you haven't done any sort of coding beforehand and had your hello world introduction, it's tradition to do that, so you should probably do it. So let's say hello world, hello, and this is going to look absolutely horrible on the screen. But we're going to refresh this. You can either hit this or you can hit Control R and it'll refresh your page. Hello world, hello. And if you notice, because spans are inline elements, they have presented themselves as such on the page. All right. So if you notice, actually, the title up here, my HTML page, that is what we put in the title. It goes up here. This is the title of your page. Later on, I'll probably show you how to put an icon up here, because you'll see on web pages you have the icon. If we go to Google, Google has its own icon. All right, guys. So that about wraps up this tutorial, the first video of this tutorial. I'll have another video out shortly. Please like, share, subscribe, whatever, get me out there. I would greatly appreciate it. I'd greatly appreciate the support. I'm doing this for free. And I hope to take you guys along on a wonderful journey in which gets you a good job. I have never been happier in my life. I have a nice house. I have a family that I can support, and the web world is not going anywhere. It's actually going to change the world, right? The future is in web. The future is in programming. So learn this and use it. I am going to say this, that programming and web development, it isn't for everybody. Don't just do this with the mind of, oh, I'm going to make a ton of money by becoming a programmer. No, it's actually, you have to like it, as with any job, or you're just going to find yourself miserable. So, yeah, that's my advice, I guess, in a nutshell to you guys. I'll try to offer some more as we go. So I'm going to link a quiz in the description, and you should go there and take the quiz. I won't know if you do. I won't know if you pass. But go there, take the quiz. If you fail it, retake it until you understand the material that is in it. I'm going to do that to try and help you guys learn as we go. Okay? Alrighty. You guys have a great day or night or whatever it is for you, and I will see you in the next video.